Hi, I'm Professor Tim Scales. I'm also the director of the Center for Entrepreneurship and the Center for Economic Education here at Indiana University East. We're celebrating 18 years of In Your Business, as well as 35 years of Whitewater Community Television, also known as WCTV. As we celebrate these milestones, we'd like to go back and reflect on some of our earliest episodes of In Your Business. I hope you enjoy those early days. Hi, I'm Tim Scales, the director of the Entrepreneurship Center and the Sam Walton Fellow for Indiana University East. Today we're working on another episode of In Your Business, a program that's put together by SIFE, Students in Free Enterprise. What we like to do is we like to talk to an entrepreneur and we like to discover what they go through. Basically what we find out is there's a lot of risk involved with entrepreneurship as well as a lot of reward. We find that during the adventure we have to look at things like the idea, the plan, and the execution. We always start off with public opinion, then we discover the entrepreneur, learn from them, and then we go out in the field and actually see what they're doing. So please join SIFE as we discover entrepreneurship.
For a Christmas tree, do you prefer a live or an artificial?
Honestly, I prefer the live kind. It's more decorative in your living room, and the fresh smell is always nice.
I have to have artificial Christmas trees. I love the smell of the real ones, but I'm highly allergic.
Live. Every year I have a live tree because it's live.
I prefer a live Christmas tree, but I have an artificial Christmas tree because of all the pine needles and having two smaller children. It's easier to maintain a fake tree right now.
Well, I prefer an artificial Christmas tree because I love Christmas and I love those beautiful little white lights, and I have to admit, even on camera, that my Christmas tree stays up all year round. As a matter of fact, I have 3.
Live, definitely live, because it smells really good and it's not made out of plastic, and then you get to go and pick it with your family and it's really fun. And then also, after we are done with our Christmas tree every year, we put it in the backyard so birds can nest in it in the winter. Definitely live.
Welcome to another episode of In Your Business. Today we're going to meet with an entrepreneur, well actually 2 entrepreneurs. They're a partnership. It's Scott and Ginny Roehler of the Roehler Christmas Tree Farm. Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
It's going to be exciting to learn about one of my favorite things, and that's Christmas trees. So tell us a little bit about the Christmas Tree Farm and maybe when you started and what you're doing.
Actually, it started out, I had an older brother that had a Christmas tree farm in California, and he came home one year in the summer and happened to go for a ride on my motorcycle and came back and said he found the farm, that maybe we ought to start raising Christmas trees here.
Okay.
And that's kind of how the ball started rolling. And
how many acres do you have?
We have 10 acres here in Centerville, and then the farm in Connersville is 152, of which there's about 65 to 70 in trees.
Okay. Did you plant all those trees?
Yep. We planted, the first year we borrowed a planter to plant, and the ground that we were planting them in wasn't suitably taken care of, and we ended up bending the planter and we put 10,000 in by hand.
Yeah.
Planted 10,000 Christmas trees by hand. Okay.
We rounded up parents, grandparents, brothers, sister-in-laws, everybody we could.
Okay.
To put trees in.
So you planted those. How long does it take once you plant a Christmas tree until it's ready to mature, to sell, to bring home?
About 8 years. They grow about a foot a year.
Okay. So things started off a bit slow for you, I can imagine. You buy the acreage, you plant the seed, and wait 8 years for it to fully develop.
And we didn't realize that when you first plant a small seedling that the weeds seem to grow faster than the tree. So you spend a lot of times mowing, spraying around them, to try to make sure that they survive.
Okay. So you've come from the hand process of going out and spending your weekends spraying weeds and using weed trimmers, trying to get this little seedling to take off. 8 years later, you have this really beautiful Christmas tree. You have this wonderful Christmas tree farm. But what's changed? Because every time you get rid of the tree, you have to replace the tree, correct?
Well, what we normally will do is we usually will sell out of a field. We have set fields that you'll usually sell out of that field for 2 or 3 years. And then usually what's left we'll make wreaths out of. And then you'll clear cut that field and let it sit for a year or two. That way it gives a chance for the stumps to rot out before you replant.
Okay, and then once that happens, you'll replant that field.
Right.
So you have different fields that are maturing at different times.
Correct.
Okay. How many Christmas trees do you have? Do you have any idea?
I have no clue.
I was thinking about that last night. There's probably somewhere around 60,000.
60,000
between both
Christmas
locations.
trees. Wow. So your brother went on a motorcycle ride, found the farm, came back, told you about it. What'd you think?
I was all for it because at the time I was working at a motorcycle dealership and working part-time at UPS and really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And I thought, well, this is kind of a future and this is something we can get into. We hadn't been married that long, had we?
Couple months.
When I put her in debt for the farm, so.
What'd you think?
Oh, I'll try anything once, so it's all right. I like being down at the farm. I'd rather be at the farm than work where I work. Work inside. I'd much rather be outside at the farm.
Okay. I'm sure that it has its ups and its downs. I'm sure there's times that you have to be there that you'd rather be doing something else, but I would have to think that through a year's time to just interact with the people that come to the farm and to see what it is that you're doing, there's got to be a lot of pride in that end result, being able to be a part of people's holiday.
Yeah, it's kind of neat because some of the kids, like we have this one family that the first year we opened up, they brought their little girl Megan, and she was on their dad's shoulders, and they put a big red bow on it, and now I think Megan's 19 or 20, and they come back every year, and you've got to see her grow up, and we have lots of families like that, and some of them now are married and bringing their kids, which is really neat.
Okay. So we learned a little bit about the business. We know how the Christmas tree farm is, but I want to learn a little bit about you as entrepreneurs. When we talk about entrepreneurship, there's a lot of risk and a lot of reward. And the risk of taking all that acreage, putting seeds down, and waiting 8 years for a return, I mean, that's a risk.
Yep.
Do you see it as a risk?
Every year, because when you plant your seedling, not only do you have to worry about the weeds coming up once you put it in, but whether the ground, we run out of rain and it dries up and you lose the seedlings, or insects come through, or
Mow them down.
Mow them down, did you say?
We had one kid that helped us one year, Tim, and he closed his eyes and mowed down a whole row of trees, like 250 trees.
Yeah, he was mowing the rows out, and
Okay.
yeah, it was boring to him, and he just closed his eyes for a minute and mowed down a row of trees.
Okay. Well, that happens, I guess. I mean, that's just another part of doing business.
Yeah.
You learn from that, and hopefully that didn't happen again. As far as the reward goes, I think the story you told about like Megan and being a part of all the families, that has to be a huge part of the reward. But what are some other rewards that you've experienced in entrepreneurship?
I think a lot of it's just the satisfaction of, we've started it from scratch. There wasn't anything there when we first, in fact, a lot of it was woods that we had cleared out, and now when you kind of stand up on top of the hill and look out over it and see all the trees, and there's also a sense of accomplishment. It's, this is what we did ourselves, we didn't buy this, or, and financially wise, it hadn't been great, a big reward, but the farm will be paid off, in 3 years? Mm-hmm. So then we'll own that property free and clear, And we've changed a little bit. Like say when we first started the farm, we planted a lot of trees and we were going to do a lot of different things. Well, you know, my brother ended up getting sick and passed away, so that's why we've kind of scaled back into just our 2 locations. And I think we'll do better that way, because now instead of having, you know, this just overabundance of trees, and we're doing something that we can handle ourselves, you know, on a more personal basis.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like when you got into this, it was somewhat of a surprise and unexpected. I mean, you wouldn't have done it if you hadn't somehow or another wanted to become an entrepreneur. But at the same time, you probably didn't know what it was going to be. You wound up with the acreage, you started the farm. Since that time, what's probably the most significant thing that you've seen happen? What's the one thing you say, I really learned from this?
I think with the farm, I don't think you ever stop learning. Whether it's a different method of, you know, a different herbicide to put down, or a different way to treat the tree once, you know, as far as whether you shake it or bale it, and even our approach towards the marketing and that of them. The flyers that we put out, the different ads, we've tried different things. You know, some work, some we look at each other and go, you know, why did we do that?
Okay.
But I think it's gradually, it's a continual learning, and, you know, to try to stay up with everything.
Mm-hmm. How about for yourself?
I think to make the farm profitable, I think you have to kind of branch out in other areas. I think if you're just a plain Christmas tree farm, I don't think you can make just a living out of it.
Okay, so how have you branched out?
We haven't yet very much, but we have the gift shop, and we do the wreaths and the roping, and we do fire baskets, more stuff with the greens, more products with just the greens.
Fire basket, what is that?
You just put greens in a basket and treat them, and then you can put them in the house, or we do centerpieces, and but I think you have to get into more of that stuff to make it more profitable.
Sure. It's interesting to chat with you, because you're talking about the farm, you're talking about all the different things you do, but I also know that when you started, again, you were out there doing a hand process with a pump, trying to spray, trying to pull weeds, trying to use the weed eater. You have learned an incredible amount from the beginning to where you're at. Probably learned more than you even realize. And today, you're still learning. So it's got to be one of those where it's been challenging, and that education has to be rewarding as well. Now, what was probably one of the biggest hurdles that you hit?
I don't think there was any really one hurdle, but it's trying to overcome all the little mistakes that you kind of make along the way.
Okay.
I mean, I guess it goes back to the learning process, but I always thought you're always going to make the mistakes, but as you try to lessen the blow, you know, of each one. I mean, because I've done some really stupid stuff as far as killing trees with herbicides, spraying them at the wrong time, and taking opinions of people that said, oh yeah, you can do this, and I have, and then I ended up with, you know, a field of dead trees. And that's probably the biggest hurdle, is trying to kind of condense all the information into something that you can use.
Okay.
I think the worst, I just remember when I think the worst was one year they were burning brush piles, and we just got done shearing the fields we were going to open up, right? Mowed them and got them ready to open up, and we lost one field. The field we were going to sell out of that year, was it one field or 2 fields of trees because they caught on fire. So then we had to move everything and try to figure out which field to go to, and that was probably the worst I think we've had so far.
That was another one of my learning. Well, there was 3 of us down there, and we had some brush piles to burn, so everybody kind of had their own. And I made the mistake of not double checking the other 2 guys before we left. Mm-hmm. And we were home, and all of a sudden we get a call that the farm's on fire. Mm-hmm. And so we go down there, and like I say, we had just finished shearing these trees not 2 weeks before. And the fire department was more concerned with keeping the fire from going into the woods of the neighbor than he was on saving our trees. So we had a little problem there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was another one of those self-induced.
Well, I guess, you know, every business has its own uniqueness, and that's a uniqueness to the Christmas tree farm. Do do you have trees that you're passionate about? Trees that you spend so much care on that it becomes personal?
Tyler, our youngest son, thinks every tree he shears is the perfect tree. And he does do a nice job. And you can pick his trees out of the field. You can always pick out his row. And then Scott thinks that he does a really nice tree, but his aren't quite as pointy at the top. And then our oldest son, Kyle, his are decent, but his aren't, quite as perfect as Tyler's. And mine look like Hershey Kisses, they tell me. So everybody has their own, their own preference to what they want for a tree, but we all have our own rows, and everybody can pick out their tree when they go through.
And usually at the end of the day, if you have a tree that you'll go, hey guys, look at this one, so everybody comes over it, takes a look at the tree you did. And then it's also kind of a competition to see whose tree sells, whose will sell first that season.
Okay.
Scott had one this one year he thought was just perfect. He just thought this tree was great. And every one of us, we had one kid, Corey's been with us for like 4 or 5 years, even him, every one of us took a swipe at that tree going by because we seen something wrong with it.
And then you do that when you're out in the field, that, as you're walking back up to get a drink of water or something, you'll see a little branch sticking out, so you'll take the knife and give it a whack. And everybody took a stab at my tree, and I thought it was perfect the way it was. But
well, a tree's not meant to be perfect. A tree is kind of nature, and you want it to be natural.
We actually have some people that come down and their complaint is that the trees, are too symmetric, that they like a wild. I had one that actually asked me if I would leave some grow and not shear them just so they could pick some wild ones.
Wow.
I said those usually get cut up for wreaths. But
So tell me, what has been one of the more exciting things that have happened to you on the Christmas tree farm?
Probably the time we had a tour with 5-year-old kids. We had 2 hay wagons side by side. We had them out in the bottom field, and the wagon got stuck and broke, and all the kids had to get off and hike all the way back up to the house. So you're trying to entertain all these kindergartens. I think we had, probably 60, and trying to keep them out of the mud to trample through back up to the house.
Yeah.
And the funny part was the teacher has them all write letters, back thank you letters. And I would say 95% of them mentioned the wagons breaking or the tractor getting stuck, but in a positive way. They all had fun. But that was what kind of stuck in their minds.
So that's the question I ask entrepreneurs: is tell me about your average work week as an entrepreneur.
It never ends. Because as soon as you're done with your regular job, then on the weekends you're at the farm.
Okay.
In the summertime when we're shearing, we used to get up at 4:30, but we kind of bagged that, and now we sleep till maybe 6 before we head down to the farm.
Well, you wanted to be in the field before it got hot, so we tried to get 4 or 5 hours worth done, and then be out of the field by 12 before it really started beating down on you. Because you can really tell. I mean, even some of the kids that we've had work for us that were just in excellent shape, their quality starts going down as it gets a little warmer towards the end.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing. We're at a point in the show where we like to send Johan out and let Johan, get familiar with the business. And this is one of those that's very special because Johan's only visiting for a short time, and where he comes from in India, the temperatures get very warm in the summer and stay very warm even through the winter. But live Christmas trees is not something that they get to experience. And so I really look forward to having Johan come out and experience the Christmas tree farm. Scott, I want to encourage you to make the boy work, and let's see what he can do with a tree.
That'll work.
What better time to do an episode of In Your Business other than during the holiday season? And holiday season is coming up real fast, and we thought the best suited business to cover would be a Christmas tree farm. So we're here in Connersville at Roehler's Christmas tree farm to get a real look into what actually goes on here. It's going to be a real fascinating experience for me because coming from a country where we don't have any Christmas tree farms but only artificial Christmas trees, this is going to be a real rememberable experience for me. So let's go in and check it out. fabulous. Thank you so much for having us here today.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming.
All right.
This is our white pine tree. You need to feel it. Feel how soft it is. This is a real long needle.
Wow.
It's a good seller for us, but it doesn't hold the ornaments very well because the branches are real soft.
Right.
And this one's probably about 15 feet tall.
Wow.
And it's been in the ground probably 15 or 16 years.
Really?
They grow about a foot a year.
Okay. Wow.
Alrighty?
And are these for sale as well?
Yes,
All right.
yes.
Okay.
And people come and tag them now when the weather's nice. And then when they want the tree in December, if the weather turns nasty, they'll just call and we'll come and cut it and have it ready for them up at the house.
Oh, that's great.
And then we've got the blue spruce. I'll show you next. See the difference between them?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
This one grows a lot slower.
Okay.
And it's real prickly.
Yeah, it is.
These we don't have to shear quite as often as we do the white pines.
Okay.
We shear them from the time they're 2 years old until the time they're sold.
Right. Okay.
Okay?
And how long? How high would it get?
As tall as you want it to
Yeah.
cut down.
Okay. Wow.
Like I said, they grow about a foot a year. This one's slower. It grows fast once it gets to a certain height, but it's really slow when it first starts out.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4. Then this will be your 5th year.
Fifth. Okay.
Yeah. Because we trim this. This is called the leader, and we trim it to 12 inches.
Right.
Everybody gets a set of clippers and a ruler,
Okay.
and you cut it on an angle. Because if you leave this too long, you'll look, well, that one a deer got to, but you'll have a big gap there.
Gap between.
Yeah.
That's right.
We don't have much luck with them.
Okay.
I'd say we probably have, 10% survival rate. It's just not very good at all.
Oh, what's the reason you think?
The deers keep ripping them apart.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know why, but they seem to like these better.
Yeah.
And then we had one year where we had a lot of snow, and the deer actually ate the circle around. They ate all the new growth off around the trees. But most of the time, like that one over there, they'll just rip the trees off. Yeah. And we paint these blue. It's just a novel idea. Some people like the blue color.
So when is it painted? When is it
We usually paint them the end of October before we open up.
Okay.
If you go to a cut lot, you won't be here at Christmas time, so you won't get to see that.
Yeah.
But the cut lots, they're really, really green, a lot of the trees, because the people paint those green to hide any damage
Oh, okay.
or any defects that they have
Right.
on their trees.
Sure.
But we don't paint ours green, we just paint them blue because people like the blue color.
Sure, definitely.
But you can paint them blue, green. They had a pink one time, but the pink's ugly. We never did the pink. But
And this would be an additional cost?
$5 a tree.
Okay.
Yeah. And it doesn't come off. We don't have one close, but next year the new growth will come out and it'll be green,
Right.
and the inside of the tree will still be blue if we don't
Blue.
sell it. Yeah.
Right.
So the next year we'll come and paint it again.
Right, okay. Well, there's nothing like on-hand experience, and I'm gonna get some right now. I'm gonna cut myself a Christmas tree. So Scott, I'm ready to go.
There's the weapon.
All right.
And you want to cut it as close to the ground as you can.
Okay. Is that good?
Uh-huh.
Want to hold the needle, Scott?
Yeah.
Help me hold
You
it.
want to come around. Okay. Come around a little more this way. Put your hand up right there.
Okay.
Hold it back here at the handle. And then make up just a full cut.
Okay.
Keeps on, just let it come down. There you go.
That was mighty exciting.
I'd like to do a couple hundred of those a day.
All right.
Then for the customers, we have cutters in the field that will bring the trees up for you also.
Hey Scott, what's gonna happen here?
Danny's gonna put the tree on the shaker, and when he does, the pine tree, the inside needles will actually die at the 3rd year.
Okay.
And some will come out on their own, and the others will put them on the shaker. That way we try to leave all the dead needles here, here rather than put it in somebody's house. Okay, Danny will lead it in there. Just got a winch to where you'll just pull the tree through.
So after everything is done, people just take this home and they're all ready to go once they bring it home. That makes it so much easier.
Because we basically, our farm's a little different. I mean, we put cutters in the field that'll cut the trees for them.
Sure.
You know, our kind of thing is all the people have to do is point and pay, because we'll put it on their truck or van and tie it on for them.
Very
So.
true.
And you cut your pieces, and you want all the pieces to go down. As if you had them go this way, they're going to stand up and they're going to flop.
Sure.
I'm gonna run down and
Just put them in there and plant it. And we do that all the way around.
And what particular tree is this?
This is a Scotch pine.
Okay.
We use it the most because this is the one we had the most of. When we use the white pines, which is the long needle ones I showed you first, they make a really pretty wreath, and you don't have to use as much because they're so full.
Sure.
But then when they get wet, they kind of flop, where these don't flop as much.
Right.
And then we put pine cones on them, and we make all of our own bows. And we hand make our bows, and we put them in the pine
You do it
cones.
yourself?
I do, and Lisa, one of my friends, do it. And then my mom used to, but she didn't help anymore.
Okay.
She's got arthritis really bad, so she can't do anything.
Oh, okay.
But she's actually the one that taught us all how to make the bows.
And how long would it take for you to make a complete wreath? I know you're a pro at it.
Well, I don't know about pro. It's been doing it a long time.
Yeah.
To decorate and everything, I would say probably 15, 20 minutes.
Really? Wow, that is really fast.
Yeah. I think that's it. That one's a little wild. Usually the first one's a little wild. There you go. And then we just tie the bow on. And like I said, we hand make the bows when we're not busy. That's what we do. We all sit in there and wrap the bows. And make them. And that's kind of wild, so we'd probably trim it down a little bit. But there you go.
That is so nice. Take a look at that. That is really cool. Wow. You're really fascinating. It's really, really awesome.
Well, thank you.
Well, I must thank both of you for both your time today. It truly was a great experience for me coming from India, where we don't have any Christmas tree farms, but I truly see a market for them in India. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Scott, for your time and having us
You're
over.
welcome.
It was really great. Back to you, Tim.
This concludes another episode of In Your Business. Today we learned about the Christmas tree farm from the Roehlers. And I'll tell you, it's very interesting to meet with people who have a family business like this, because all generations of the family have been involved. They become very passionate about what they do. For people to take their summer and go out and spend time at a Christmas tree farm, to prune trees, to make the trees beautiful, get them ready for a holiday season special to most of us. Many of us need to realize that the business happens 12 months of the year. To us, we think of the holiday season maybe as just a few weeks. We go out and we find something that's representing what we want our homes to look like. But when you meet with the Roehlers and you find out all of the work and all the passion and everything that they put into it, it's true entrepreneurship. It's not something they have to do, it's something they want to do. And it's something that their whole life has been built around, and it will always be a part of their life. It's been very interesting to be in their business, and I hope that you'll get in their business. Make a trip. Go down to the Connersville area or the Centerville area and visit the Roehlers Christmas Tree Farm. Even if it's not to buy a tree, but just to look at the trees, just to see what it is that they're doing and the difference they're making. That's true entrepreneurship at its best.